I think it's an interesting piece of content that used to be effective, but everyone's like, yeah, in my opinion, anyways, you're writing a case study to fit my use case. And sure, they saved this much and all that. But until someone really experiences it or feels, I think, bridges more of the gap of what was the process they went through the project. Was there pain throughout the project? How much time did it take away from our employees doing their day-to-day job to actually get this project done, right? I think that that's a lot more of where people still have gaps even after reading a case study. So trying to take different approaches of webinars and allowing an open forum to educate more.
Today's guest is Victoria Nguyen. She's the head of sales at Platinum Cubed. Victoria, it's great to have you here today. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Sure. Hi. So I'm Victoria Nguyen. I'm head of sales at Platinum Cubed. Platinum Cubed is a consulting partner that really focuses on helping businesses align technology with their business process. So we primarily work in the Salesforce space, but we've started to help other clients also just expand from CRM to all the other technologies that they use. And we really focus on financial services. So anything from real estate, mortgage, private equity, we really are industry specific so that we can help them not just start at ground zero explaining what their business is. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of different companies you can go after in the space. What have you found success in? Because I remember when we talked, kind of offline in preparation for this, you mentioned you'd been at the company for a while before you got into the sales role. So I'm curious, like what you've seen in your time at the company and where do you kind of gravitate towards? Like where do you think, you know, which space might be the most comfortable for you and where do you think you can really like drive the most revenue?
Sure. Yeah. So what I've really found is it's all about relationship building. And that seems like a little cliche, but at the same time, people remember you from that relationship, that initial relationship and connection that they make with you. And so when we bring relationship building across the board with our clients, our partners, and just whoever we may meet, like at Starbucks or whatnot, it really comes full circle. And that's what I've seen really work well. We've gotten referrals from our clients because of that, et cetera. And that's really how that works. We've kind of just seen like cold calling and cold emailing doesn't work as well anymore. You know what I mean? It's so many people get it. So many people kind of just ignore it or delete it right away. And even myself, as my title changed, I got a ton more emails. And do I look at them? No, not really. I mean, I almost missed your email, right? But it's just very rare. I feel like that it works. So we really focus on that relationship with our clients, doing the right thing, and it's paid off for us.
Yeah, I think relationship is key. It's easier to maintain or retain a customer than it is to try to bring on a new one. There's more revenue potential there with customers. There's just so much more you can do with your existing customer base. But when you think about the relationship, like what do you do? Because oftentimes, and tell me if this is your role, but oftentimes, like in many sales organizations, the salesperson sells it and then hands it off to like an account manager or someone and they manage it. And then the relationship kind of just goes with the person. Like, sure, sales is kind of in touch, maybe quarterly business reviews or checks in from time to time, but then the relationship's really owned on that side of the house. So, how do you balance that? And like, what's your approach to maintaining customer relationships?
Sure, yeah. So I actually have a cadence where, as I build the relationship with our clients and then hand it over, I do hand it over, and our team has been great at building and continuing that trust and relationship. However, I have a cadence of certain milestones where I do check back in, ask how the project's doing, stuff like that. And around go live, I usually am the one to also pop my face back in and say, how are things going? How can I help? And I think the biggest thing is I've had a lot of success because I came from the technical side of things first. So I didn't start as a salesperson. I really started actually implementing Salesforce. And with that, I found that I built a lot of relationships and trust because of the excitement I showed for the product. And I kind of brought that over to the sales side to really share that excitement with everybody so that hopefully those that I interact with don't feel like I'm selling them something. right? And so I think that level of trust where they know that I know the product and I know the technical piece, I'm just another avenue for them to also reach out to if they have additional questions outside of the project team that they have and stuff like that. But also, I mean, with sales, like everyone thinks that we do, we also do go out for lunches, coffee, meetings in the office. So, kind of having fun with your clients too, and remembering that it's not all business, I think has really helped kind of keep that relationship and keep us a little more unique on that side.
Yeah, it's not something that people do as much anymore, like the in-person interactions, especially like going to lunch. That seems like such a foreign thing, especially since COVID. So kudos to you for using that as a way to stay in touch with people. I do want to go back to email and cold calling because I know this is something like every salesperson has to do it in some capacity, but it's everyone kind of agrees like it's such a struggle now. Like cutting through the noise is harder than ever. So what are you doing to reach out to people cold and to build pipeline these days?
Sure, yeah. So the biggest thing we do because we are relationship based as well is if there is someone we are targeting, if you will, or really want to connect with, the biggest thing we do is go on LinkedIn and see who else we're connected to. And from there, we can ask for a soft or warm introduction or ask how that person knows them or play a little game, if you will, of like, hey, this person, I see that we're connected through this person, right? And that at least sparks their interest because it is something that is common between the two of you. So that's worked pretty well. And I have found and learned over the years how powerful LinkedIn can be for those things. So that's definitely worked. And then similarly to actually how I talked about going to lunch or buying lunch or things like that, I actually did a campaign last year or so that I can't fully take credit for. Someone gave me the idea, but I'm a huge fan of the NFL. And I actually did my prospects, I grouped them by region and made a shot in the dark and said, hey, like if you're in New York, you're either a Jets fan or a New York Giants fan, and kind of just said, hey, I see the Giants are playing the Eagles this weekend. Big game, right? If they win, I'll buy you lunch. If they lose, have a meeting with me. Either way, I kind of get to connect with them, but they feel possibly if they're interested as well, it's a little different and they may get free lunch out of it, right? We're a fully remote company, so we would send DoorDash, Uber Eats, something like that to kind of still make that happen, even if we can't make an in-person lunch happen.
That's awesome. I've never heard anything like that before. That's really clever.
Yeah.
How did it go? Did you get some meetings or send lunch?
So I did get some meetings. Some lunches did have to happen, but to be honest, sometimes what I got more responses of is the afterthought, more so of like, hey, no need to buy me lunch. And I kind of don't want to meet, but it was a good game, right? And so I'm still connecting with people on a certain level. And honestly, with cold calling, because it is such a numbers game, any response is a great response for me. So I take it as a win.
Yeah, like if you get a no, like that's better than silence, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely.
Yeah, super cool. How long did that take to set up? And did you use any LinkedIn tools, like any LinkedIn automation tools, or did you pull data from anywhere externally?
Sure. We actually are we run really lean as a company. So that includes some of our tech stack. So we do have a marketing tool. Since we are a Salesforce shop, we use Pardot. So some people may be familiar with that, but we did a cadence through Pardot where it was the initial email and then the follow-up email. And I built that out for the different regions I wanted to, just because obviously they're different football teams, right? But no, we actually don't have any LinkedIn Navigator subscriptions or a Zoom info or anything like that. I truly just use their region, and a lot of people have their emails out there. We actually use AI from the standpoint of ChatGPT. If you ask it, hey, get me 10 mortgage companies in this region for these titles, it'll actually scrape the web for you and grab you some emails. And so that's what I would use to kind of build a list and go from there.
Very scrappy.
Yeah, it works. So, you know,
Very cool. And what tools are you using to send out emails? Uh, are you just using Pardot or are you using anything else like an Instantly or a Smart Lead?
yeah, truly just Pardot. So mainly if we want to do any cadences or drip campaigns, we use Pardot because then any responses and whatnot, we have that insight into whether they open it, forward it, etc. And then with anything else, I just use my personal, not personal, but my personal work email, right? And I send them out personally so that it doesn't hit spam or anything like that, hopefully, and it truly hits the inbox.
Nice, nice. And when you're targeting people, is it just based off of like persona data, like you are in the financial services or real estate sector and you have this title?
Yeah. So how we do it is pretty strategic in the sense of how we like to try and build credibility, especially in that first headline or that snippet that they see of your email. So, for example, with real estate, if we're looking for, because we are industry specific, we look for, let's say, VP of acquisitions, right? And those are the people who are looking to acquire different properties and then take it through that process that they have, right? So, depending on what that is, we throw in what we like to call credibility darts, which is using their terminology to help show that we understand what they do day to day. So, we can show our stuff and what we're going to talk about hopefully will bring value to you if you just have one call with me. So that's kind of how we do it, but that is kind of how we target the different titles and personas from that standpoint.
Got it. Yeah. I have to say I'm really impressed because a lot of times when I talk to people, it's like they have these massive tool sets, like, they have an outreach and they've onboarded Apollo or Clay or Zoom Info and they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars and they're like, gosh, we're still struggling with outbound.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like refreshing to hear of such success with like such a lean tool stack and being scrappy, like I mentioned. I'm I'm wondering when it comes to value proposition and like talking about like what you can do, is it something that people find, is it obvious to them or is it like, yeah, we know about this, but we just haven't like gotten around to it, or is it like, oh, we weren't aware of this?
So actually, surprisingly, we'll take the Salesforce space, for example. I know Salesforce is a big name. A lot of people do know who they are, what they do, etc. I think they still have, unfortunately, the tag of they're a sales tool. And so that's where I still find it a little bit more surprising that people don't know the extent of what it can do for their business, right? And I think the fear is that, oh, it's going to cost a lot. Well, we actually have started to use a lot more AI tools internally to build faster and build more efficiently so that one, we don't have to scale our teams. And two, they're not spending so much money just to get at least started on a platform that is super powerful and can help them scale their business. So that's definitely something that we've started to drive this year as a different approach to the market and incorporating AI into what we do as well.
Yeah. If you were talking to like a VP of acquisition, what are some of the top use cases that you think you could uncover that they might not be aware of, and how much value do you think they would get out of those?
Sure, yeah. So VPs of acquisitions, they're looking for properties that fit a certain, just like we have ICPs, they have a certain definition of what the perfect property is for them, right? To get the most return on investment. So it may be like location, it may be the size and units that they're available, just the comps around the area and stuff like that. The biggest thing is a lot of people who are super experienced in their industry, they know off the top of their head, yeah, this is the perfect property, right? But when you kind of are starting to bring up this newer and younger workforce, how is that senior VP of acquisitions kind of training and transferring that knowledge to train someone who's younger and less experienced into the same role and get them up to speed to eventually be at the same place, right? So the biggest thing that they don't realize is when you sit down, and we challenge our clients to do the same, when you sit down and really talk through yourself, how do you evaluate something like that? How do you evaluate a property? What key things do you immediately flag to say, yes, this is a great property? Let's get those into the system. Because then what the system can do for you is you type in, yes, this is the criteria I'm looking for, and the system can then surface more actionable data for you, right? And that's where it brings a more level playing field for your seniors and your juniors to kind of operate at the same level. And then one, you're cutting costs not just on headcount because you can obviously probably handle more without hiring, but you're also cutting costs on salary because you can start building and training a younger workforce rather than always looking for the more experienced and seasoned people who obviously cost more. Right. So I think that's what people, they always think it's just another database similar to Excel and you're just more data entry, and they understand that yes, I can build in workflows, but they're not understanding the use cases to the extent of what we can build.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I hadn't either until you explained it like that. How much education do you think you do ahead of the like discovery meeting? Like, do you find that you guys are creating research studies or blog posts, webinars, things like that to try to add people to the top of the funnel and educate them?
Yeah, sure. We definitely do a lot of webinars. We are working on more one pagers, if you will, about certain topics. I think the biggest thing is even though we're narrow in our scope of industry with financial services, there's still so much you can talk about. So it's really trying to pinpoint what that topic will be for a one pager and keeping it to that. I feel like case studies are getting a bit stale. I think it's an interesting piece of content that used to be effective, but everyone's like, yeah, in my opinion, anyways, you're writing a case study to fit my use case. And sure, they saved this much and all that. But until someone really experiences it or feels, I think, bridges more of the gap of what was the process they went through the project? Was there pain throughout the project? How much time did it take away from our employees doing their day to day job to actually get this project done? Right. I think that that's a lot more of where people still have gaps even after reading a case study. So, trying to take different approaches of webinars and allowing an open forum to educate more.
Yeah, I agree. I think case studies have become stale. I think there are probably companies that like they're able to slice the data or whatever they're looking at and tell just the right story. And
Yeah,
like maybe they were able to save X number of hours or X number of dollars like in a small time frame. But like
sure.
if you look at the engagement overall, like that wasn't really what was delivered.
Yep.
And then I'm always a bit skeptical about like personally about case studies without logos and sure, there are instances where maybe you did do the work and you did deliver what it says, and the customer's like, no, like for whatever reason, you can't use our name and logo. Like you want to like have our secret sauce or like keep our competitive advantage. I know it happens, but still, it always makes me wonder.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the assets that you're creating that you think are like helping to push conversations and deals forward?
So, actually, an interesting thing is we haven't done a lot of assets in the past couple years that I've been here. I'd say more so the biggest thing that has been effective is hosting community roundtables, if you will, in a specific industry. So if we continue to use real estate, we like to host real estate events where, like in Denver, we're going to partner with someone and actually host a real estate event where we sit around and get these executives or people who live the day to day lives talking to each other to say, hey, we're doing this. What are you doing? How are you experiencing this? The market is kind of weird. What are you doing to combat that? Are you kind of on a freeze? Are you, what are you doing? Right. And it really gets the conversation going a little bit more with the facilitated questions to get people a sense of community and also kind of keep it more fresh than just reading something these days. And of course, you get a little bit of happy hour, you get a little bit of snacking, right? A charcuterie board always gets people's attention. So I feel like that's been the most helpful. And even if people don't come back with a project for us, obviously, I think they see more of a consultative practice rather than just an implementation, right? And I think that's the story we're also trying to drive too. I like to consult. I like to talk about our experiences rather than just, yeah, let's go do a project for you and then it'll cost you all this money and good luck with it afterwards. You have subscription fees and it's supposed to help your business.
Do you do any like in-person meetings or have you gone to Dreamforce?
Yeah, so Dreamforce is a big one for us. We go to Dreamforce every year, and even before I was at Platinum Cubed, I've gone to Dreamforce probably the past 8 years.
Wow.
And it's been very different. I didn't go during COVID, obviously. I think they had stopped anyways, but At Dreamforce, it's the same thing actually for us. We don't go to as many sessions as you would think or anything like that. We go to really meet people in person and kind of still host the same events, but in a Dreamforce environment. So I do go meet people in person. Because our whole company is remote, they usually send the closest person alongside myself. But we don't have a ton of clients in Denver yet. A lot of them are East Coast, so that's generally where I'm meeting people.
Yeah, got it, got it. I want to go back to how you started more on the technical side and then got into sales. So if you were like giving advice to someone that was kind of in your former position, like knew that there was more they could be doing or like had aspirations to do more and thinking like I'm already doing the sales stuff, like I should be paid for it. What advice would you give someone in maybe like approaching their manager or maybe some work that they could do to showcase like that they are a fit for the role? Because I think a lot of times sales managers look at resources like, but you don't have the sales experience, like you haven't like put in your reps on the phone or like the emails or like been told no or whatever. And it can be a little bit scary for the sales manager to put someone in that seat. So what advice would you give?
Yeah, that's a great question. That exact thing actually happened to me. I wanted to do sales well before I got to do it. And I kept asking my manager, and I got the same pushback, right? You've never done sales before. So my options were either to continue down the path that I was doing or to just apply for a very entry level sales role and really take a pay cut at that point, you know? And I didn't want to do that either. That was a pretty big risk. When I got to Platinum Cubed, I had a great mentor who really took me under her wing. I think she saw from my personality that, I could do it. But the biggest piece of advice, if you don't get that lucky, is to ask to support from the technical side. A lot of salespeople don't like to demo. They don't understand how to demo in the best way. Supporting from the technical side, I think, still leans on your strength from what you're doing today, but also lets you show some creativity on taking some requirements gathered by the salesperson and making it come to life, right? And then showing that and getting the client, the prospect excited about what can be possible. I'd say that's kind of the way to dip your toe in. Um, and then after that, yeah, I mean, just keep being persistent. I can't say enough how many no's I got to do sales, and now here I am doing it, right? And another thing I'd say about that, which I learned, I was always scared of the quota. I was like, my job is super stable on the technical side, like my salary is stable. I don't even think about the quota anymore. I really just get to talk about technology that I'm passionate about and learn about people's businesses. And then the money kind of comes. Like you kind of just, you're successful because you are who you are. And I think to lean on that and have confidence in yourself more so than worry about the scary quota that people have to hold.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. I agree with that. I think if you approach things with like a genuine curiosity and like a desire to help, that comes across organically and then you're able to find ways to support people. Not everyone you speak to, of course, but you do find ways to support people and then you're able to close deals and then yeah, the money follows.
Yeah.
So well said. Awesome. Well, Victoria, last question for you. When you're thinking about the next 6 to 12 months and some goals that you have for yourself at work and where you want to be as the leader of the sales org, what's top of mind and what do you want to achieve between now and then?
So the biggest thing I think is I had a great mentor, being at P3 and just across my career. I'm really looking to grow that team. So if you're looking, let me know. I'm really looking to grow that team at Platinum Cubed and then be that mentor and support for others, just from what I've learned, etc. And then secondly, to really deepen the relationships with our channel partners. So we actually have really leaned on, instead of cold calling all the time, those warm referrals, even from partners in the industry, trying to match people up with people who are prospects who are a great fit for our partners as well as vice versa. So how we can deepen those and even save costs and work together on marketing, on events, and things like that. It's truly a full-time job, but really trying to make sure that I can reap the fruits of that labor next year. You know what I mean? So putting in a lot of effort there.
Yeah, yeah. Partnerships are great too. When you have good partners and can go to market together. Like, a lot of good stuff can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Victoria, if anyone wants to learn more about you, learn more about Platinum Cubed, how can they get in touch?
Sure, yeah. So you can go to our website. It is just platinumcubed.com. Don't forget to put the D on the end of it, because some people say just Platinum Cube. You might get an error. But also you can reach out to me directly. It's really just my name, victoria.nguyen at platinumcubed.com. Happy to talk about anything and everything, right? It doesn't have to be related to Salesforce, doesn't have to be related to CRM. If you just have more questions, happy to respond.
Or looking to get into sales?
Yeah, looking to get into sales. We're gonna start a fun team here, and we have a great culture. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, anybody who fits that culture are welcome.
Well, hopefully someone will reach out. Hopefully get some conversations going out of this, and maybe a couple hires as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great talking to you.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.